Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. Well, I've never owned a Bark River knife. Don't know much about the company at all. And I think I mentioned that at the beginning of the last video I did on Bark River shenanigans. I was not really talking about that company other than what I had read online about their deceptive selling practices or their deceptive manufacturing policies. And that's what that video was about. It wasn't necessarily about Bark River. It's that they were doing things that were deceptive. They were found out to be doing things that were very deceptive. Many people refer to it as fraud. It might come to the level of fraud. I do not know. I'm not a legal scholar either. But that's what my last video was about. In any case, I decided to revisit this knife in this video. And once again, you will see in the video that follows that I show once again my ignorance of Bark River knives. Among other things, this knife is a copy of what is known as the JX6 Companion. And the knife that I was comparing it to originally from Bark River was the JX62. And on top of everything else, sometimes I refer to it as J6X instead of JX6, because I really had no clue on how they came up with the JX on the Bark River knives. I now have discovered that a lot of their knives are JX. And this one was actually the JX6 Companion was Chris Tanner's modification of apparently the JX4 bush bat. I looked at the two knives side by side. I don't really see that much similarity between them, but hey, if Bark River wants to say that, that's fine. Or if Chris Tanner wants to say that, that's fine. Everyone draws inspiration from something. In any case, this knife is almost a direct copy of the J6X Companion. The J6X2 is kind of like the big brother to this. And when I was first looking into this, I came across the JX6, and it was basically mislabeled. The one I found was actually a JX6 2, and that's where I got the specifications from. Somebody had forgot to add the 2 at the end of that, and that was one of the sellers of the knives. In any case, there are also differences between this and the Bark River Companion, and primarily the way the blade is made. And also, obviously, the blade steels that are listed as within the knives, and also the handle material. And I do talk about that in the upcoming video. But I just wanted to clarify that, yeah, I'm not an expert on Bark River. Never planned to be an expert on Bark River. I've learned more about Bark River since its demise than I knew beforehand. I'm still happy I have this knife, and I'm happier that I never quite ended up with a Bark River knife. And from what I understand, there's still quite a few of them out there that are available, and they're selling for a little bit cheaper now because of the scandal and everything. Do I recommend you picking one up? Hey, if you want to go for it, go for it. Maybe there'll be wonderful knives that are going to be great collector's items later. But for me, I'm happy with the little Bigfoot hunter. Now, with that said, let's move on to the actual video. If you follow the channel, I'm kind of a big fan of Bigfoot. Oh, you don't believe in him? Well, he doesn't believe in you either, so there you go. But I have quite a few knives that are a Bigfoot or Sasquatch theme. Two of them are by Victorinox, and I'll show those real quick here. That's not what this video is going to be about, but, you know, here we go. Bigfoot and the classic photo that everyone sees all the time. A still from the 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film. And here we see him as the hide-and-seek world champion, Bigfoot. And then this one here is just a little classic SD. I like the way this one looks, though. And then we got the not all who wander are lost on the back. I really like the way that says that. Not all who wander are lost. Another one I got right here is the Bigfoot Barlow. This is from Red Hill Cutlery. We see Bigfoot walking through the forest there. And then on the blade here, got Bigfoot with 2 feet for the O's. That's kind of cool. But yeah, I've always been a kind of a fan of Bigfoot. I'm not going to go into is he real or not. We all know the truth behind Bigfoot. But I did want to bring out this knife again and talk a little bit about it. Now, I showed this one recently because of the whole kerfuffle with Bark River and their, what is it, the JX6, I think it was. And this knife is the closest thing I have to that knife. This is the Bigfoot Hunter by Rough Rider. And I picked this knife up many years ago, 3 or 4 at least. And when I picked it up, I had no idea about Bark River or their knives or anything else. And the first time I actually heard of Bark River knives was when somebody said that looks like a ripoff of the Bark River J6X or something like that, or JX6. I always get that screwed up. That's how much I know about Bark River. But this is actually the Rough Rider 2174. In any case, the first time I ever heard about Bark River was when I showed this knife and somebody pointed out Bark River had a knife that was very similar to it. Now, recently when I showed this knife again, and I was talking about Bark River and the other knife, the JX6, someone said, how can, someone asked the question in the comments, how can a Rough Rider just copy a knife like that some other company makes? And well, the bottom line is any company can do that. And any company will do that. You can see that from the way the LB7, I think it is, or whatever the number they gave it, from Schrade, was basically a copy of the Buck 110, and then eventually Camillus came out with their version of the Buck 110, and everyone has made a copy of the Buck 110. But when Buck 110 first came out, that knife was copied right away. This knife, well, I'm not even sure if this knife was copied from the JX6, because that knife, the JX6, was actually designed by a guy named Chris Tanner. Now, I don't know if Bark River commissioned him to make that knife, or if he just came up with it and he sold it to them or whatever, or he made it for them. I don't know. He also makes knives for LT Wright, a variety of knives for them too. And the thing is, unless there's something on that knife that has been patented or trademarked, other companies can copy it. There's nothing they can do to stop it from happening unless there's some part of that knife has been patented. If a design feature on the knife has a patent on it, then they have a right to make that specific design for as long as the patent lasts. If there's something trademarked to the knife, then until the trademark expires or until they relinquish the trademark, that part is under trademark and cannot be copied, legally at least. So that's the way Rough Rider was able to basically make a copy of the JX6. But this is not a direct copy of that knife. And I actually went and looked at the specifications of the Bark River knife. I mean, and I'm not talking about the material in the handle and the blade steel. What I'm talking about is the actual knife. The Bark River J. Okay, this is the part where I really screwed up on the sizes of the knives. The JX6 2 is the 9-inch version of the JX6 Companion. The JX6 Companion is just 7.5 inches, which is very close to the same size as the 2174 Bigfoot Hunter. Basically, if we can see here, this knife comes in right at about 7 3/8 inches, maybe 7 1/4, and the blade length on it is just under 3.5 inches, with a cutting edge that is about just over 3 inches. So, if anything, this is the little brother to the JX6 and the second cousin twice removed to the JX6 Companion. And the blade geometry is also quite different. As you can tell here, this is more of like a Scandi grind, and this is hollow point here, or this is a hollow grind on here, hollow point. I wonder where my mind is. Anyway, so you got the Scandi grind and then the hollow grind going down here, as opposed to, from what I understand, all of the knives made by Bark River had a convex grind. So the grind on the blade is also significantly different. And obviously the materials used were different. The one I saw by Bark River was in Magna Cut steel. This is in 440A stainless. I should say the one that Bark River listed was listed as Magna Cut steel. I believe at that time they were being honest about everything, so I will assume that it is in Magna Cut. And then the handle, I think the one I saw was in micarta, it goes now for around $228. They were in the $326 range a couple weeks ago. But in any case, this one is just in pack-a-wood, and then it has the design here. And I was mainly buying this knife because of the design on the blade. I bought it because I collect knives that are kind of Bigfoot related. And that's why I grabbed this one. Now, there are two other knives in this series that I was really thinking about grabbing, but I never just got around to it. One of them was the 5-inch folding Hunter, and I'm hoping that that one comes back around, but I doubt it will. It has the same logo on there. I was always looking at it and saying, oh, should I buy it or not? And it's like, I'm not going to carry it. I'm not going to do anything with it. Why am I going to buy it? And the third one was the Bigfoot Bowie, which was 12 inches overall with a 7-inch blade. And it came with a really nice nylon dangly sheath. Something else that a lot of people have pointed out, this one comes with a left-handed sheath. A lot of people would say they would not buy it because of the left-handed sheath. I think, turn it the other way around and just wear it on the other side then, because that's what lefties do when they have a right-handed sheath. They just turn the sheath around and they wear it on their left hip anyway, and then they just pull the knife left-handed and flip it around, or they just reverse their grip when they're grabbing it. Or you could just leave it on your left side and take it out with your left hand, especially if you're doing something like holding a pistol or something in your right hand. So that's one of the reasons why some knives come with a left-hand sheath, is because the idea is you need to have your pistol is on your right-hand side, so your knife is on your left-hand side. That's one of the reasons why they will do that sometimes. In any case, I really do like this knife, and I have used it for cutting things around the house, mostly vegetables, meat, stuff like that. But it's a really nice knife, and it cuts well, for 440A. Now, something else that was mentioned was some people were saying that this knife is basically a Nessmuck, and I really don't see the Nessmuck in this. I see this as an upswept folding hunter that has had the blade clipped. That's the way I see it, and it's very similar to this knife. Now this knife is by R. Murphy, and this is also a knife made in the United States. This one, man, I bought this one a good 10-15 years ago. I carved a fish on the one side because this is the, I think it's called the Woodman's Pal, or it might be called the Fisherman's Pal. I can't remember. It does have the fish cleaning portion up here, you know, so you can do your descaling and such. But as you can see, it's also got a bit of an upsweep to it, and it's got the clip blade. And when you get right down to it, the clip on this matches the clip on this knife quite well. The difference is this blade, the one on the Bigfoot knife, just has a little bit more belly than this. Otherwise, the geometry on those blades are the same. The difference is this is almost a full flat grind going all the way down. And then a little bit of a convex down at the very end here. And this also is using a 440A stainless, I believe. And also a much thinner blade. And this is a really good slicer. Now, compare that and this, or compare this to the SE JG5, and the JG5 is definitely a Nessmuck blade. You see it does have the upsweep going on, but the bottom remains more or less constant, flat across the bottom before it comes up at the very end to catch the sweep. And then you have the drop here. And notice it is not a clip, it is a drop. And that's more what I see with a Nessmuck. I think of the Nessmuck as a drop point going in to, and it's kind of a mix between an upswept blade, but also a straight skinning blade. So it's really a more complicated design than what we have with just an upswept skinner that just happens to be clipped here. This is a full sweep, almost a whole length. You notice how this is straight for quite a distance, and then finally it just has it curves up at the very end to a very blunt point. This is a actually sharper point than the Nessmuck here. Let me show them side by side again. See what I'm talking about there? So that's why I would not really consider this a Nessmuck. I would not call this a Bigfoot hunter a Nessmuck, and I don't think I would call the JX6, which is a larger knife, but essentially the same blade shape, a Nessmuck. Maybe they called it a modified Nessmuck, but that's almost like everything is nowadays called a modified Wharncliffe. And if you wanted to, you could even call this a modified Wharncliffe, but that's truly a stretch in my book. What I believe Rough Rider referred to this as was a cleaver blade. And they were calling everything a cleaver blade, including this thing by Artisan, which is also very similar to this. This is the Artisan Corsair, I believe. And this was a knife. This is almost a knife of regret. What I regret about this is I bought the brass-handled one, which was a Smoky Mountain Knife Works exclusive, so I should be happy with it. But that brass is really heavy, but the blade action is really smooth here. Very short blade on this, though. But you can see you've got that kind of a little bit of a sweep, and then you've got that drastic cut-off point there, like it's a broken blade almost. But that's close to the same. And this is also kind of referred to as a cleaver blade. Now they also made this with a micarta handle, and I wish I'd have grabbed the micarta because that would have been so much lighter than this. Weight does matter. This knife is probably the heaviest knife on the board. This might be a little heavier, but look at the difference there. You know, all of that brass really adds up. Anyway, I just wanted to go and talk a little bit more about this knife. It is one of my favorite little fixed blades that I got from Rough Rider. It's got a nice little blade on there. I will eventually show all my little fixed blades from Rough Rider. I think I've done that before. I'll have to do that again. I'm also going to get back into talking about collecting knives again. I know so far I've only talked about Rough Rider and Buck. There's a couple other brands I want to talk about. And, you know, are they worth collecting, or is any knife brand really worth collecting when you think about it? Anyway, that's for a topic for maybe the next video. In any case, right now, I will let you go. And remember, Bigfoot lives. He's out there somewhere. Talk to you again soon. Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with Tobias. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.